I got something to show you. I know. I just did my 2020 pedal board video and I changed it. Well, I'm going to talk about this pedal board and why I changed it in another video. But in this video, I want to talk about Pinstripe stuff. So I've got the DISO Plus right here under the board, and I've got it routed in stereo, can sum it to mono. I'm going to tell you why I did that. So if you're like me, you've got a lot of different ways that you serve at your church. You might be playing bass on a Sunday if they need you for that. You might be needing to go to a conference where they've got amps and you want to use those amps, or Kempers, or maybe the Kempers are put away and you need to play through something else direct. That's my scenario. You know, it's every week could be a little bit different. So my pedal board is designed to function for all of those things. And the DISO Plus is really at the heart of that. I run in stereo to that. I can sum it to mono. I can go direct out in stereo through the HX Stomp. So I can use that for bass or guitar, or acoustic guitar, whatever I need. I can then come out the other set of outputs, either mono with the switch on the DISO Plus or stereo. Now, if you're like me, when I was going through this process trying to figure it out, it was hard to find exactly the right product to do all of this. And I stumbled on Pinstripe, and they were really, to me, the right route to go. Now, there's some of these scenarios where you might be asking, well, wouldn't it make more sense to use a DI, or I'm not in stereo, what are we doing here? Or I've got to run to amps and they're across the building. Well, that's what I'm going to talk about today. There's different products that he makes that could be a really good fit for you. And the first one we're going to start with is this. This is the Myso. He just released this, and I think it's the perfect product for most people. So I work as an integrator, which means I'm part of an organization that designs and builds audio, video, lighting, and acoustic systems for churches and large organizations around the country. Now, a lot of the churches that we design are not stereo. They're doing mono. They've only got either budget for mono, or the room doesn't make sense to be in stereo. And something like this makes a ton of sense for that. Now, the Myso is mono, is what it means. So, mono, and D for dual for the DISO. So mono, it does everything the DISO Plus does in mono. So you run into it, you run out from it to go to an amp. And then you've got your XLR out if you need to run direct. It's got a ground lift. Pretty straightforward. But again, this is different than a DI because it's not balancing your signal. It's giving you isolation from any sort of ground noise or anything like that. So uses the same Jensen transformers, same high quality components. Now, one other area where this could make a ton of sense, I've been loaning my DISO Plus to our church every once in a while to use for like drum pads and that sort of thing. This is the perfect product for that because drum pads typically don't need to be in stereo. You've got a kick and a snare sound or something, and it's totally fine to have that run mono. This will do that, and it saves you $100. So these come in at $150 as of the filming of this video. Check them out. Again, if you need something that does what the DISO Plus does, and you're either on a budget, you're in mono, or you're doing it for like a drum pad, this is the way to go. So another scenario that I had mentioned in that video was maybe you're running into amps, or you're running Kempers, or that sort of thing. If you're like me, those amps are across the building or across the room, and you need to run through something like a radial SGI. We've been using those for years, and they work wonderfully. Now, the SGI, those do a great job. Have had no issues with those at all, but they're a little confusing. They've got that drag control. What does that do? And where is it set? Does it need to be here or here? Again, they do a great job. They've got this big red power brick though, which has always been an issue for me. Well, again, Pinstripe Pedals has come to the rescue. They make the TX-RX. Now, this is a little different than the SGI and a little bit more expensive, and I'll tell you why. So again, it's that pedal size box that fits just like a tuner pedal or a drive pedal at the end of your board. It'll also run right off of your pedal power. So just run right into this. It does the step up voltage that it needs to run, and it's got it buffered out. So if you're just going directly out to amps in practice space, or you got an amp next to you on stage, you just come right off of this, and it's kind of like your patch bay. But what makes this even more unique is the receive box. So this is the box that you use at the amp. So the output from the Pinstripe goes into the input here, and you've got a ground lift in case you get any hum along the way, and then it goes out to your amp. Pretty straightforward. However, has this daisy chain. This is pretty cool. So you can run this to another receive box right into the input and out to an amp. It's gonna combine. Again, it's a mono signal, but it allows you to run that mono signal to as many amps as you would like. You can daisy chain this indefinitely. And what's nice about that, say again, you're in a mono room, but you've got a couple of amps, and you'd love to be able to blend those. Well, you can run out to these receive boxes, say run an AC30 and a Fender Deluxe, and they can mix that at front of house to get it to sound just the way they need. Pretty cool option. These come in at $300. Check them out. I think they're a little more open sounding, and again, for not much more money, you get this 9-volt right there on your pedal board. You can integrate this right into your rig, and I dig that a lot. So, and these are all analog. They're not converting anything to digital, which is a little bit different than some of the other options out there. So if you're like me, when you first started into this whole digital thing, you were wondering, do I need a DI box? What kind of DI box do I need? Is there a really good one? Should I use just an average one? Does it really matter? Well, I ran into those same questions. I did land on the DISO because, again, I'm coming out line level, and that's where I'm trying to end. But there is a purpose for a DI box. If you're an acoustic guitar player, if you're a bass player going direct to front of house, a good DI is really critical, because what it does is it balances that signal from an unbalanced input or output, like a keyboard, a bass guitar, acoustic guitar, and then allows that signal to run over a long distance. So you still do need to step up that output at the console. It's about a 20 dB drop. However, that's really the only way to get an acoustic guitar out there effectively. So before I talk about the DI, let's talk about this little board. So it's like a little cutting board is really what it feels like, what it looks like. And when you buy this, you get a Revelation cable, which I'll talk about in a second, and this 3M dual lock. And you get enough for 2 pedals, so you can throw your tuner on here and your DI. And if you're like me, I can never find my 3M, or I just don't have quite enough to do what I need. So it's cool that he includes that. So these Revelation cables are pretty cool. Pinstripe has partnered with them, and they send you one with every little pedal board that you get with them. And just like Pinstripe, they're a no compromise cable. So they use the best solder you can get, and they give you options on the type of cable that you'd like to use. My favorite option that they throw in there is Van Dam cables. Now, I use Van Dam by PRS, so they use Van Dam cables on the cables they sell. And Van Dam is this cable, as you can tell, it's really flexible. It doesn't hold a memory, and I think that's really valuable for a long cable run. It's not going to twist up on you on stage. And I've really come to like the sound of this cable. Again, that's all subjective. However, I think these sound great. So that is one of the options with these Revelation cables. They also do Mogami and a few other options. You can find these guys at revelationcablecompany.com. Check them out. But the little white DI, what's cool about it, again, this thing, it's no compromise product. It uses Jensen transformers like all the other Pinstripe stuff. And man, they sound great. And the story goes, I took this, we've been using Radial Pro DIs forever. That's the DI that we used at our church since we launched 5 years ago, and had no problem with them. They sound great. However, I brought the Pinstripe to our worship pastor who's playing acoustic guitar of the week that I brought it. And I just said, hey, try this out. Didn't tell him anything about it. Just said, hey, try it out. Tell me what you think. So plugged in, used it. We did the recording. And when he was mixing, he actually reached out to me and said, hey, my acoustic guitar sounds way better. That DI sounds really nice. It's got a lot more low-end definition than what I'm used to, and it's a lot easier to mix. So whatever that is, that's awesome. So that was it. In his words, I thought that was a really nice endorsement for these things. And again, it's a little more money, just like the Pinstripe stuff. He doesn't compromise on quality of components in here, and you do pay for that. But I mean, if you've got a $3,000 acoustic guitar and you're running through a $100 DI, spend a little extra, get one of these. I think you'll appreciate it. So that's really it. I know all of these products are really a little bit confusing, because what is line level? What is TS? What is TRS? What is XLR? If you have any questions about that kind of stuff, throw them in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer any questions you have. I want to thank Pinstripe for sending these pedals up my way to check out. And if you guys do have any questions at all for Pinstripe, throw them down below and I'll see if I can get answers for you guys. Thanks again for stopping by and watching this video. Subscribe if you liked it, and we'll get more videos your way soon. Take care.